Goeiedag, Wandit. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching the Wildkard Rugby Show. As always, it is my pleasure and privilege to talk about the greatest game in the world, rugby. And by a donkey. So, yes, this was a pretty interesting game between the Stormers versus La Rochelle for the round of 16 in the European Champions Cup. And, man, I thought the Stormers was going to walk away with a pretty easy win based on the performance in the first half. They were leading 13 points to nil, only for the team to completely kind of outmuscled a little bit in the second half, I have to say. The team obviously had a big issue in the second half. There was 4 injuries to their forward pack. Despite running 6-2 on the bench, the Stormers was really left a little bit outgunned in the second half. They had to play 2 hookers on the field, and really there was injuries to some of the very big names, like Dion Ferree was off pretty early in the first half. Dixon was out. Diamani was onto the field from the bench and then taken off in the second half. Morat, I think he was the captain, or maybe the vice captain, was taken off as well. There was also a backline injury on the wing. Zas was out, and then they had to put, the greatest Springbok in the history of the Springboks, Damien Willemse, on the wing. He almost scored twice for the Stormers. I thought, man, probably, was really, I thought for sure he was going to score one of those 2, but really unfortunately got a little bit unlucky there. And I think the Stormers' strategy, having really loaded up the bench with, big boys coming off the bench. They had Frans Malherbe off the bench in the tight head proposition. They really loaded the bench up, and that whole strategy of trying to kind of like finish the game with the sort of bomb squad setup as the Springboks had really just fell apart with so many injuries to the core forwards. And really in the second half, you can just see that the La Rochelle didn't do anything crazy fancy, just physical belting breakdowns, and then just scoring tries just to do with just overwhelming size and power to win, to get themselves in front and eventually winning the game. The Stormers had an opportunity right at the end to kick a conversion to win the game. There was a beautiful cross kick from man in the box to number 14. What was his name? Hatzenberg. Hatzenberg was beautiful, but was not able to get the conversion. Apparently, there was very strong swirling wind in the stadium. And really, really unfortunate, not able to do that, not able to knock out the defending champions, La Rochelle, in such a crucial match. I did think that the Springboks, in terms of that, Stormers, sorry, my bad. The Stormers was a little bit interesting in the way they attacked, extremely flat. There was almost no screenplay, like we see a lot. Probably used mostly in maybe Wales does this the most nowadays, where they will put like screen runners and then the ball will go behind. I don't think they hardly did that, if at all, this game. Another thing, really flat just in the attack. There was, I don't think I've seen a single where the back door play where one of the forwards would throw the ball back to like someone sweeping behind him, like a back sweeping behind him, creating a bit more depth in the attack and maybe potential overlap by hiding a runner behind the forward pod. I didn't see any of that from the Stormers team today. Just completely flatness and just really immediately trying to get over the advantage line when they get the ball, and then just try to use quick hands or with the offload to try to get themselves through over the advantage line, which was interestingly quite successful. Really made the stats look good, but it really just didn't quite open up as much as I think that what the Stormers could have done if they just had a little bit more depth, a little bit more of utilize that, maybe the behind ball a little bit, the backdoor play, I think they call it, a little bit, could have probably yielded a bit more space for the back line to work with. Damien Willemse once again looked just amazing with his offloads. Every time he hit the defense line, it's almost guaranteed past the gang line, and he can always get the offload out reliably. And with that, I thought, probably something that the Stormers, I'm guessing that's how they always play throughout the season. I haven't watched the Stormers recently, but just look a little bit flat in that regard. And also with this flat kind of play, It really comes down to physicality with the forward pack as well. And with so many forwards injuries, having that flat play really, with tired forwards in the second half, people coming back off the bench, you're just not getting over the advantage line in the second half. The effectiveness of this flat style, trying to immediately punch over the advantage line, was just not going to yield any results if you have tired legs out there. So that really kind of again exacerbated the issue of the injuries, and really the second half was just not ideal for the Stormers. They were leading, like I said, 13 points to nil, only to lose the game was really a little bit disappointing. I thought the scrummaging was quite a battle this game. I love a big scrum, and in the first half, despite the Stormers being down almost 50 kilograms, yes, La Rochelle had Will Skelton, one of the biggest second rower, if not the biggest second rower in the world, and Antonio, Antonio's the last name, Uni Antonio at the tight head prop position. I think Antonio has to be the biggest prop, maybe not the biggest. I think maybe the Tongan prop's bigger but yeah, one of the biggest props, if not the biggest on the field. Like, they completely outweigh the Stormers, but the Stormers was able to scrummage him. I thought slightly better than La Rochelle for the most part. Both teams were able to get penalty advantages over the other team. And finally, we have to talk about the referee. I thought the breakdown was an absolute mess. There were times where players were trapping each other. I think La Rochelle was guilty of this a lot, trapping players in the breakdowns. And it just really, very inconsistent, some of the calls from the referee at the breakdowns. I thought it was a little bit frustrating to watch there. And I thought outside of that, what else was a bit, outside of that, there was a bit of a penalty milking from La Rochelle, throwing the ball into, in the players in the offside position, that sort of stuff, trying to get the 3 points. Outside of that, I thought there was one big scrum around second half, which was pretty crucial for the Stormers. They had a big scrum penalty advantage, almost like they could have got a penalty. The Stormers, this was 58 minutes on the clock around there. Stormers just marching through the scrum, and the referee did not give a penalty, allowing the La Rochelle to get the ball out. And I thought that should have been a penalty there. But that's something that I see a lot in Super Rugby. The referee reluctant to give penalties too quickly. So I felt like maybe there is a shift in the way that they want to adjudicate how quickly the penalties are given when it comes to scrummaging, just to give like the weaker team a little bit of a chance to not just get penalized on their own feed constantly. And that was one very interesting call from the referee. They didn't I thought for sure it was a penalty, and the referee hesitated. Eventually the ball came out, and La Rochelle was got out of jail. That could have been an easy 3-pointer for Manuel Bock as well if that had been given. So other than that, let's have a look at the match summary. 3 penalty goals to 1, 2 tries to 3 for the Stormers. One missed conversion at the end for the Stormers was probably the difference between the two teams. Eventually, the turnovers lost. 5 turnovers lost for the Stormers. Turn 10 for La Rochelle. 3 turnovers, 1 and 6. I don't know how can you win? How could you win 3 turnovers and then and the opposition lost 10? Shouldn't this just be the reverse? I don't know what's going on with these stats. Someone with a math degree can explain this to me. Shouldn't this if you lost 5 turnovers, the opposition must won 5, right? How can they win 6 turnovers when you only lost 5? I mean, is there a translation issue here? Anyway, move on. Stormers ironically have lost some of the scrum feed just to due to the referee calls here and there. But overall, I thought the Stormers did have the strongest scrum. Lineouts was again the wind was affecting lineout a little bit as well. So both teams were having a little bit of issue. I think the Stormers had one throw that was not straight. The attack 130. No, let's skip that. Post contact meters. This is what I was talking about. The Stormers was really successful. It's being really flat and being basically immediately get over the advantage line every time they carry the ball. And that really showed here in the post contact meters. How do you have 192 post contact meters to 143 and only scored 2 tries, I suppose, and the opposition scored 3? Right? So that is something that the strategy the Stormers was deploying, but it really didn't like it made it look good on the stats, but it didn't really work out for them in the end on the scoreboard. Penalties conceded 12 for the Stormers, 12 against La Rochelle. 1 yellow card against Stormers. I think who was it that got a yellow card? Let me have a look. There was so the La Rochelle had 1 yellow card to Stormers. La Rochelle had 1 yellow card early against Will Skelton for repeated penalties essentially, and killing the ball over at the breakdown from the half, like basically jumping over the breakdown to the halfback. There was another yellow card for repeated penalties against the La Rochelle right at the end of the game, 75 minutes, hands on the ball. Late is his name, the number 11, yellow card, repeated penalties as well. For the Stormers, they had 1 yellow card due to repeated penalties as well, around the 69-minute mark. And it's Theo Neeson, I think that's his name, was sent off due to a repeated penalties as well. And that's really where Stormers' physicality just fell off another step there. Tackles count, 128 for the Stormers, 19 missed tackles, 95 tackles made for La Rochelle, 18 missed tackles. Okay for completion rate for both teams. And then tackles, total kicks, Stormers 24, La Rochelle 24, quite evenly matched there in that regard. Let's go through some of the plays out of the scoring for the game. Really early on, the Stormers immediately got a penalty. They just taken the 3 points early to settle the score, to settle the nerves, I guess. Which I guess is fine. They do like to do that, to just get the points on the board to apply. This is something that the All Blacks do a lot. They like to apply early scoreboard pressure, what they call scoreboard pressure, and then just try to keep that pressure up and really force you to give away penalties under the just to really try to get you to make mistakes under the pressure. There was a so 17 minutes of the game, the Stormers had more opportunities in front of the La Rochelle 20 in front of the try line, and this time they didn't just go for the 3 points. They went for the lineouts. There was a lot of faces being built. There was a lot of penalties. They repeatedly for a few lineouts. Eventually got the yellow card against Skelton. And finally, they decided to take the 3. I thought that was, again, they like to do that. Like I think there's some kind of logic in taking the 3 points as soon as the yellow card's taken. But for me, if you get a yellow card, it's time to get another yellow card and really solidify that into a try. I don't know why they do this. England do this as well. As soon as you get a yellow card or they just take the 3 points and then reset the game, and really alleviating that pressure. Especially it was Skelton that was sent off at this point. I thought for sure you would just go for the line out or go for the scrum with the Skelton missing. The missing like 140 kilos. You could have easily got another penalty and potentially get another yellow card. I definitely should convert that into a try. But they're taking that route, taking the 3 points, 6 points to 0. 21 minutes into the game. 27 minutes into the game, there was a really nice counter attack deep inside the Stormers half. Gelant decided to run the ball, and then he kind of like threw the pass to Manny LeBlanc, who just punched through a nice gap, powers through a few tackles, and then there was a quick recycle of the ball. The ball went out to Damien Willems, the greatest Springbok in the history of the Springboks, stepped through a few defenders, and then nice little offload to Yankees, and goes in for the try to Morat, and then Morat offload to the Yankees for try. 13 points to 0. 30 minutes into the game, La Rochelle finally got themselves an opportunity to kick 3 points. Antoine Hastal, whatever, how do you say his last name? Anyway, missed this one. So halftime, 16 points to 0. 45 minutes into the game. 13 points to 0. 45 minutes into the game in the second half. Stormers get a penalty right on the ball, 16 points to 0. And then the team kind of just like fallen off a bit of a cliff after this. 49 minutes in the game. Big crash balls from the La Rochelle team, building a lot of pressure. Again, the physicality is starting to show a little bit. There was a few piggyback penalties. They got really close to the try line, and then you can't really see if this try was scored or not on TV. But what's his name? Peneverin went over, and the referee said did on-field decision, try want TMO to see if it was a alternative view. Couldn't see anything, so try stands 16 points to 7. I thought this was a bit of a you can let me know what you felt about that one. 52 minutes into the game, there was a penalty against Stormer. This was the first penalty for La Rochelle, and Antonio gets this one on the board. There was a lazy runner after this where the halfback threw the ball into a Stormers player on his way back into the defensive line. Easy 3 points for La Rochelle. 16 points to 10. And then the game is really, after this, the kicking game is really starting to ramp up a little bit, especially for La Rochelle. 58 minutes into the game. Like I said, I thought Stormers probably got a scrum penalty here. Wasn't called, allowing La Rochelle to get out of the danger zone. The injuries starting to pile up more here. Morat is knocked himself out. Dion Free is already off. There's few players already off at this point. 60 minutes into the game, there was a yellow card to what's his name? The Stormers player. Theo Unison. Anyway, I apologize for the pronunciations. And with that penalty, with that yellow card, La Rochelle, unlike the Stormers in the first half, decided to extend that advantage into a try. So they went for the penalty, they went for the line out, they went for the maul, and they what happened here? Oh yeah, no, yeah. So they went for the penalty. Instead of going for the line out, going for the maul, they went for the quick tap. Just pick and go, and just a couple of pick and goes. Gregor Aldrich, the captain, the French captain, national team captain, crashed over. 17 points assist, got La Rochelle in front for the first time in this game. 64 minutes into the game, it looked like Damien Willemse had scored a try. The Stormers did a nice little switch. Again, went for the left hand side, and quickly switched back to the right. Damien Willemse this time was playing on the wing due to injury reasons. He ran down the field. It looked like his foot touched the line, may or may not touch the line, but they went back to look at the replay. There was a knock on in the breakdown to Yangshi's. 68 minutes into the game, there was more penalties. Was piggybacked for the La Rochelle against the Stormers. They kicked the ball off of the line out. They went for the maul. They got really close to try line, just lost a pick and drive. Eventually, Joe Scalvi, the Argentina prop, crashed himself through. This just pure physicality, a dominance over the Stormers. 22 points to 16. They missed the conversion, which could have made a difference to the final result. And for the last 10 minutes or so, there was a penalty yellow card against La Rochelle with about 5 minutes to go. Number 11, Lades. Stormers was putting a lot of pressure on, and for some reason, the Stormers decided to go for the scrummaging when they had the penalties for the last about 5 minutes or so. The scrum went lots of resets, and especially considering that the scrummaging was a bit 50-50, especially in the second half, and with all the injuries they had in the forwards. I guess actually no, that didn't make sense because the La Rochelle had a player in the bin, but they got the penalties, but they didn't quite work out. But they just repeated that same process: scrum, penalty, scrum, and eventually the ball kind of went out, and man in the box, crossfield kick straight into the bread basket of Hatzenberg, and try time, but this wasn't close enough to the middle. He could have probably ran a bit closer, but yeah, the kick was wide due to strong winds in the stadium. 21 points to 22, and that was the end of that. Yeah, anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts about this game. Like, comment, subscribe. I did watch the Bulls game earlier, and they just completely dominated. Who was it they played? I think it was an English team. No, it was a French team. Just completely dominated the opposition. Looked quite easy. But yeah, so Stormers couldn't quite do it against La Rochelle. And yeah, unfortunate. So only team left into the quarterfinals, it's the Bulls. So let me know your thoughts, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching this video. If you wanted to buy one of these shirts, click on this thing here, I guess, and thanks to anyone who donates money or supports me with memberships and Patreon and whatnot. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one. And I'll see you guys next week for the news. Cheers.